Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I am your LEGO host, Polar Bear, and I hope you enjoy this brand new comic book review. So as you may know, on Free Comic Book Day, I got a bunch of Doug mentioned Kelly Jones comic books for Free Comic Book Day. And I read this one-shot story in Batman and it had some sort of, we'll say, effect on me. So we're going to talk about that today. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Polar Bear. I don't normally read a lot of old stories in my Batman collection. A lot of them are dated and just some aren't that good. Some have aged a lot worse than others, but for some reason the Kelly Jones art in these books kept calling to me and I kept reading them. And the more I read, the more invested I am in them. Of course, I started off with the Swamp Thing issue. It was alright, and I just kept reading until I landed on this issue. Batman 535, The Ogre and the Chimp. I normally wouldn't make a video on a comic from the 90s. The only comic I could think to cover is Nightfall. But this is a very special case. The story is more of a revenge story than anything. And the main person in this book, I'd argue, isn't even Batman. It's the Ogre. To begin the story, I'm not going to start this story at the beginning. I'm actually going to talk about the side story first, which is the origin of the Ogre and the Ape. Company had approached a homeless man and what is now the Ogre, but was Michael Adams. They had approached him to be a guinea pig for science experiments, promising him money and a place to sleep and eat. All the experiments that were used on them was to try and make a new super soldier. The ape helping to provide the strength and the man to provide the brains, making more, or both, into a great super soldier. Before the final experiment that had killed the rest of the homeless and the apes before them, the Ogre and the ape had awoken before the final experiment could be done to them. Angered with all the torture that they had happened to them, they escaped. The Ogre, with his now brother, who had parts of him inside of the ape, escaped, stealing documents that had names so that they knew who to wreak their revenge on. With that being said, the story starts with the Ogre and the ape intimidating a scientist that was part of an experiment that was conducted on the Ogre and the ape. That made them brothers, not by blood, but by trauma. They go on to explain that they are there for revenge and to murder him for the pain he inflicted onto them. The ape then drugs the scientist and the Ogre puts an electrode in his head and that they electrocute him to death. Batman and Bullock in communication together talk about the death of the scientist, and during that time Batman discovers an emblem of note that he keeps track of that was displayed at the murder scene. Later, another murder has happened, and again, near the murder scene, the same emblem is graffitied on the wall, and the victim is murdered the same way the first scientist was. Batman then contacts Commissioner Gordon to ask if he knows anything about the graffiti, and he doesn't. But there's another cop who has been working on graffiti and finding out how it can tie into street-level violence, and, well, Batman approaches him, and, well, the cop doesn't know anything about the graffiti that has been at these crime scenes. Batman then goes and does more research on the subject and finds out that the project that the Ogre was a part of is part of Project Miracle. And during this time, Gordon calls him to say that the symbol has been spotted on another of Gotham's elite clubs. Batman then finds out which scientist is a part of this club and finally finds the ape leaving the scene of the third murdered scientist, indicating Batman did not get there in time to save the scientist. They fight on the roof, and then the Ogre shows up and slams Batman into a wall, but doesn't kill Batman, because Batman did nothing to them, and Batman is not a part of their revenge. The Ogre then tells Batman to stay out of their way. Batman, looking and finding more from the research of Project Miracle, then has to contact Oracle to look deeper into Project Miracle. She then finds out every cruel thing that the scientists had actually done to the Ogre and the ape, traumatizing her to the point that she tells Batman to stop them. Not to stop the ape and the Ogre, but to actually stop the scientists themselves. After the fourth scientist is then discovered and found dead, Batman doesn't bother to stop, because he knows that the last survivor to this point, and where he is. Batman rushes there, but the Ogre and the ape are already there preparing to hurt the scientist, but he pulls out a gun and shoots the Ogre. But ape jumps in the way and takes all of the bullets. Ogre, with rage, now knowing that his brother is dead, takes the electrode ready to stab the man in the head, ending him in pain. Batman comes in and stops him. Batman then talks to the Ogre to reason with him and telling him that this isn't the way to enact revenge. Killing them won't make them feel better. Batman now has all the evidence he needs to put the scientist away for a long time. With that, the Ogre agrees and picks up the ape, his dead brother. And with that, the Ogre leaves. The scientist, furious, asks why the Batman won't capture him and put him away. Batman says he will get him, and when he needs to. But for now, after everything the scientist had done, he wants to take him in, the scientist, not the ogre. Turn it off, Batman looks out and tells the scientist that the ogre isn't the ogre. You are. And knocks him out. Batman tells us there will be no vengeance from a man who's turned to ape, or an ape turning to man. But in the end, was there ever really a difference? No one knows the horrors of everything that went down to the ogre and the ape except for Batman and the all-knowing Oracle. Now, why do I like a story like this so much? This one shot specifically. It's how Batman treats the ogre. Nowadays, whenever you see Batman, you see him punch first and ask questions later. And while he did do so in the middle of this book, towards the end, after finding everything out that had happened to him, Batman had sympathy for the ogre. And that's part of what makes Batman so great, and why I like this story. Because the true Batman has sympathy for all of his rogues. He wants them all to get better. I mean, a couple great examples of Batman actually doing that and actually confronting his rogues for wanting them to get better is, of course, Batman the Killing Joke. That is one of the best examples of Batman wanting to help somebody before they inevitably kill each other. Or whatever happens. I mean, we've seen a bunch of what ifs, what would happen if Batman was pushed too far or if the Joker was pushed too far. But one of the better example, well, not necessarily better, but another great example from specifically the Kelly Jones and Doug Mensch is the arc right after this, the Man-Bat arc. Batman goes all the way to the North Pole to save Kirk Langstrom and inject him with the antidote to save him and bring him back to his wife. These stories, when Batman shows compassion to people who want to murder and do bad things because of something bad, is what makes Batman so great. I also have to say I really been enjoying the Doug Mensch and Kelly Jones run. It's really good and memorable reads, but that what makes this story a great one-shot that you probably don't care about, but this is just another story showing the true Batman. But with all of that being said, I really hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please leave a comment, tell me what you guys think of this one-shot, and if you guys like Batman, or me, hit that red subscribe button and turn it gray, and don't forget, keep collecting the comics that you like.